mentioned they should focus on basic research questions to make BCI systems faster and better. So in my opinion, the researcher shouldn't work on assistive technology combinations of BCI systems because this is mostly engineering work, so somebody else could do it. But it's important to have basic research done in the BCI field.
I would say go for it. It is the future. Learn a lot of skills. Don't just do a course in biology. Don't just be a neurosurgeon to a physician to a basic research scientist. Be an engineer. Be an engineer in electronics, engineer in hardware and software. Be as widely knowledgeable as you can. And it'll take you a lot longer to get to that point, but you'll find it'll be well worthwhile in the end. If you narrow down, you'll just, you'll eventually die off. So just be a wide tree trunk that can grow with many branches.
I invite more rehabilitation and neurosurgeons in this area, because in Tübingen I'm working together with a neurosurgeon. In Nijmegen and Twente we have a neurosurgeon where we do a lot of neurosurgery. They are up to now not involved, or almost not involved, in the complete BCI family. And the colleague of the neurosurgeon, sometimes that's the physiotherapist who does the training afterwards, they have to be involved in the future of the technology, because they are the users. And up to now you don't see them in the scientific projects. And they must be involved. I'm convinced of that.
It is probably very important to keep an open mind, and in particular in the current state of BCI research, where it's not going to be so clear to what extent we're going to get better, or what extent we're going to get better in certain areas. I think it's critical to have an open mind of potentially other areas and potentially put out feelers and sensors in other different type of areas, essentially as a risk management and diversification strategy, so that you're not banking on one horse, so to speak, and then if that horse doesn't pan out, then your career is in trouble. So I think the techniques that we learn, or we have to master using brain-computer interfaces, I think can be applied to all kinds of things. So for example, BCI techniques from EEG-based BCIs can easily be applied to clinical diagnostic methods, for example. So for that reason, I think it's important to keep an open mind in potentially using these techniques for BCI, but also exploring the use for other areas.
I think there should be a very strong emphasis on actually producing things that are, and showing that they actually help people. There should be development of standards for how you go about validating systems, how you go about comparing systems, and the comparison should be in terms of actual practical uses that would be valuable to people.
I had a very interesting discussion with somebody who said that the way Europe has been funding projects is not necessarily the way to go about bringing products from science into real life. Because, he said, you're asking scientists to become business people. So they do all the science, and then in the end you ask them to think of a business model, and they cannot do this very well, or not with the kind of funding they're getting. So maybe the European project should be run more like companies, where you have real management and also dedicated resources to manage the scientist, so they can excel at what they do best, but somebody else can take that knowledge and bring it to the market.
It's one of the most fragmented fields that I've been in. I've been in cognitive neuroscience, or still am, and in psychiatry. This is really a field that is so splintered. There's so many little disciplines that are separate, and I think anything that will create a common vocabulary, that would be a big improvement already. which means that you could come up with standards, criteria. So and I know there's been a couple of efforts, but that would be something that evolves as the field will evolve, and the first hype has calmed down a little bit.